It is live. Refresher. It is live. Refresher. I'm gonna put it live. I'm gonna wait a few more minutes. I'm gonna wait a few minutes until people come in. Pressure. I'm gonna put it live. That was my problem. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's see. Naima Buckner. That's Philly's finest. SBTV. Good to see you guys. Boy, the Kells, good. Good to see you. So I'm gonna pop in. Let's see. Pop in this live here. So I'm gonna show you guys a presentation like for 5 minutes until people come in, and then we're gonna start the conversation. Let's see, how does this go? I don't know that. I had it going before. What did I do before?
Yes.
Let's see. Camera. Yeah. Cancel that. Anyhow. I forgot. How do you... There's something about share a screen. How do you... My screen share is not showing. It's always a glitch. But anyhow, let's see. We got Information Man in the building. The king of consistency.
What's up, man? How you doing, everybody?
All righty. We're on.
How are you today?
We're on live, but what I'm going to do, Infoman, how do you do the screen share? Like I'm looking at settings.
Go over to see that little green arrow?
The green arrow, yes.
Click the green arrow. When you click the green arrow, you're going to see a screen that looks like your screen. You're going to take your mouse and click that so that it has blue lines around it. Then when you click that, then you're going to hit share. And then when you hit share, you're going to see this little thing that says share. You want to, that little white spot there, you want to get rid of that by clicking that off. But then when you share the screen, you look up and say present to everyone, right? So whatever it is that you want to present to people on your screen, just hit that present to everyone, and then it will fill the screen, and everyone can see what you're trying to show them.
Okay. And
then when you want to disengage from it, you just hit that little white button that says stop, and it'll disengage you.
Okay. So I'm about to do a 5-minute presentation, then we're going to get the show started.
Okay, brother.
So here it goes. Make sure y'all can hear it too.
Fraternity Incorporated, the first black fraternity in history, 1906. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1908. Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, 1911. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1913. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1911. Theta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1920. Phi Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1914. And Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1922. Body's trying to stomp like my frat, and it ain't gonna be no stuff like that. You know why? Why? Cause they can't stomp like us. Hey, baby! Go, go, go! Hey, baby! Go back and call it out! Look on the back! Hey, look! Look on the back! Hey, look!
Okay, fam. So we got the whole gang here in the building. And then use the word gang, by the way. So can you all introduce yourselves and let us know what fraternity and sorority that you are part of, for the people to listen to get an idea?
Okay, my name is Henry Thomas. I'm a part of the great fraternity Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1911.
Okay.
I am Buddy Lewis. I'm also a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated Alpha Chapter Spring 84. So I am here. That's Howard University for those that don't know. Alpha Chapter.
Hello, beautiful Black people. I go by Dr. G, and I am a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1922 at Butler University. We Indy.
Info? Nick, you're on mute, info.
I go by the name Information Man on YouTube, but I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha damn near 30 years now. I pledged spring 1989 at San Francisco State University. And Alpha Phi Alpha was founded at Cornell University on a cold day, 4th, by 7 distinguished Black men. And I just wanted to say this is, I like what you're doing here, brother, putting a panel like this together. We need to have more of these type of panels.
Oh,
So, thank you.
Thank you, brother Info. Thank you. And plus, I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated too. So, Talk chapter. Yeah, so we're gonna get into it because I know some people got things to do, places to go, and things of that nature. So I'm just gonna throw some things out there, and whoever wants to tackle it and chew on it, let me know. Yeah, is that good for you guys?
That will work.
Work.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Sounds
So,
good.
matter of fact, what is your career?
Okay. Once again, this is Henry Thomas speaking. I'm a certified public accountant. I've owned my own accounting firm, McKinsey & Thomas, for over 22 years. Basically, I'm a business owner who's been doing it for years and years, and my client base ranges from about 2,200 clients, from small businesses to medium-sized businesses to individuals. We do everything that relates to accounting, from tax, auditing, bookkeeping, etc., setting up business corporation, venture finance.
All right. Okay. Next person. Do y'all want me to just call the names out, or
Yeah, that'd be great. So we know who's speaking. I'll let the distinguished lady go first.
Okay, Dr. G.
Okay, so I'm an educator. I have a doctorate degree in educational leadership. And today I'm an educational consultant. Essentially, what I do is I travel the country training teachers and principals in the pedagogy, culturally responsive teaching and learning. To put it right out there, to be very explicit, I go into schools and I train teachers and principals how to teach Black and brown children. We are not the
They need
same.
that.
We are not the same, so we don't learn the same. And it's very important that teachers and principals have strategies and activities for their classrooms so that our students can engage at high levels, and so we can see more of that high achievement that we know our babies are capable of.
Okay. Information man. You're on mute, brother.
I should know better than that by now. Let me just say, I actually work in mental health. I have a background primarily concentrating with our youth children. I've worked in geriatrics. I've worked with at-risk youth. I've worked with kids that have they're emotionally disturbed, that have been kicked out of public schools. They go to alternative type programs. So I've worked with people with physical disabilities, emotional, just everything. And currently, right now, I've worked for the last 17 years. I work in the prison environment, particularly. First, we were Department of State Hospitals, which was under mental health, and now they've completely merged us with the prison system in California due to Governor Brown. And I'm every day I have contact with guys that are incarcerated, and I'm dealing with them as it relates to their mental health issues, helping them to cope, deal with their stressors, a lot of the things that we as Black people on the outside need to get a grip on. So, and I'm also mentoring and trying to help some of these brothers not to come back to prison. So I've been doing this. I've been in my field for over 25 years, and my field allows me to work with different types of populations. So that's one of the perks of it. So thank you.
Okay. And our esteemed Buddy Lewis in the building.
I am a member of the entertainment business for over 30 years. I wear a lot of hats. It depends on the day that they're asking. So I'm a stand-up comic. I'm an actor. I'm a writer. I'm a producer. Presently, my last job will be I worked on a television show on the LOL network, which will start premiering on Monday on Bounce TV. It's called Laugh Out Loud. I was a writer on The Real Husbands of Hollywood for 5 years. I co-created the show White Famous, which was on Showtime. So I've had a lot of experience both in front and behind the camera. and it just depends on the day and what they're asking for is what I do. So I'm an independent contractor per se, and I move in and out of unemployment with ease. So, because even the best television show, if you're lucky, you're on air for 3 or 4 years, and so at the end of 3 years, you got to start looking for a new job. So it's great to learn how to cope with the search and the hunt and the working all at the same time. It's part of the life, and I enjoy it. So my business is entertainment.
And Brother Buddy, I would love to do a panel on with some people in your field to talk about
Sure.
the comedy business.
Sure, anytime. I'll get a few of them together. As long as you don't do it at night or early in the morning, because half of them stay up late working and then they don't get up till late. So we got to find the perfect time. But we can work that out.
Plan that. We'll plan it. Okay. So going to the panel, what inspired you to be a member of your organization? What got you there? Dr. G?
Well, for me, I was attending an HBCU here in my hometown. I'm actually here today doing a health event. Nevertheless, I was doing fairly well in my studies, and my organization approached me. They wanted educators who had, the academic prowess and who was pursuing a career in education. Now, our sorority is not exclusive to educators, but it was founded by 7 educators. And so quite naturally, we have a good number of educators in our sorority. But yeah, they came to me and expressed interest in me, and that prompted me to do my research to understand who and what sororities were, because I just had no idea. I'm a girl from the projects, and so sororities, that was a far reach from my understanding. I was doing well enough just to be in college. So when they approached me, I did my research and came to understand that the sorority was founded by 7 Black educators during a very difficult time in our country in terms of equality and integration and such. And it just made me want to be a part of that sisterhood. I felt like it was something that could help me grow. I could discover my womanhood as I began to develop relationships with other beautiful Black women. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how it went for me. Had they not approached me, I'm not sure I would even be a part of a sorority, because I just didn't know anything about it until then.
Okay.
And it's been 25 years to date. So I've been a member since, a long time.
Telling us that you're old school?
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
Nothing
yeah,
wrong
it's
with
been
that.
a long time. 24
Nothing
years,
wrong
I
with
think
that.
it is. 24 years, 1995, spring of 95. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't let them tell you, hey, wine gets better with age. That's what they say. Like, don't cry, sister.
Thank you.
In the 5 Club. Welcome.
Yeah.
So Brother Henry Thomas, what brought you into the organization?
Dr. G, I've been in a fraternity 30 years of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I crossed spring of '88 at San Francisco State University as well. But it was most definitely the stepping. Nobody stumped like the brothers. But to be honest, I come from a legacy of Omega men. My uncle, who came into the fraternity in 1968 at Virginia State, was my first introduction to Omega Psi Phi fraternity. I was not aware of fraternities or anything like that. I was just like a little nappy head kid running around, just trying to play sports and be a kid. And my uncle, I used to always see his brands. I would go visit him. He had his brands on his arm, and And I said, hey, what's that all about? I see you and your fraternity brothers, y'all get together, y'all seem like you guys have a good time. And at the time, my uncle, he was a principal. He actually was the first Black principal in the entire state of Nevada. And so that was my first introduction. And then later on, through grade school, I had a couple teachers and coaches that were also members of the fraternity. So the only fraternity that I really knew about was Omega Psi Phi fraternity until I got to college at San Francisco State, and then I started to get introduced to other fraternities. My grandmother was a Delta as well. My sister is a Delta, and so only organizations I knew about that was pumping through my through my vein was Omega Psi Phi, and I knew of Delta Sigma Theta. But as I start to learn more about the fraternity and its members, and I was introduced to some of the other organizations, I had to be Omega. But you don't want to be that guy who comes home and sits at the dinner table and everybody else is Omega and you're an Alpha, a Sigma. It just don't make a good company. So that's my story. That's what inspired me.
Thank you, brother Henry Thomas. Brother Information Man. You're up next, my brother.
Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All right. My story is a little bit different. My father and mother divorced when I was very young as a child. So I was, partially raised by my mother and my father when I would go back east. My whole thing when I went to San Francisco State is that I always had a desire to make a connection with Black men in a sense of brotherhood. And so one of the things that really stood out to me on the campus, now you got a brother there who graduated state in 1988. I think he said, did you come through in 88 or no?
I came through spring 88. I graduated in 89.
Okay, and you probably know some cats that I know, like Algernon.
Yeah, I know those guys.
And then of course we used to call him Logan, but he changed his name. He has a Muslim name.
I know Logan.
Okay, Malik. Then you probably know Michael Harper, Maurice Chambers. Those were my pro. And so because I came in 89, and so you may not agree with me or not, but when I got to state, brother, to me it seemed that the alphas at the campus on that time really had their shit together. I saw them as brothers that were movers and shakers. We have a saying in Alpha that we Alpha men are always involved in something. We're always in charge of something, running something, doing something, and distinguishing ourselves. So that was sort of how the brothers stood out to me, the way they carried themselves, their energy. And that really was attractive to me because I was a young man looking to have more of a connection with a brotherhood. So that's how I got attracted. I didn't know at that point, I didn't know anything about the step-in or any of this other superficial stuff. I saw School Days. I thought it was kind of cool. But what captured my mind and my heart was really the business and the way the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha at San Francisco State Zyro chapter, the Code Wave, how they carried themselves. And this is not to say that any of the other Black fraternities and sororities, and particularly the Black fraternities, didn't carry themselves in any appropriate way. It's just that the alphas at that time stood out. And what also stood out to me is brother Michael Harper. That brother helped me one time when I was still in high school trying to get a job through they had a work program. You know how a lot of these cities have these summer youth work programs, and he was a counselor in that. And I remembered him. So I got impressed on by Alpha Phi Alpha in my youth by someone I didn't know that was an alpha who really did something for me when I was a young man in the community trying to get a job. And that stuck with me when I found that he was an alpha on that campus. So I'll end right there.
Oh, thank you, brother Information Man. And brother Buddy Lewis.
Similar to my frat brother, I was indoctrinated early by my 4 of my 5 my uncles were all Omegas. My dad was an Omega. He pledged at Fisk in 1957. He was a Rho Cybra, and I'm sorry, Eta Sigma. And my cousin pledged a year before me at Morehouse. He was a Cybra. So Omega was in my blood early. I have, and I got the story about Omega Psi Phi. And one of the things that I come to find out was the true history of Omega Psi Phi. Like, a lot of people don't know that, our motto is friendship is essential to the soul. And one of the things was that at Howard's campus, the reason why Alpha chapter is Beta chapter at Howard is because there was a group of men that actually tried to recruit all of the Omegas that were our founders first. But if you notice, all the Omegas that this is back in the day, and you got to remember this is true history, and this is in the Spingarn Library. You can go and look this up. The brothers that were recruited by the Alphas at that time were very light in complected, and so they refused to go without their last brother Frank Coleman, who was very dark, and they started a whole new organization based on that simple fact that they weren't going to leave one of their brothers behind. And so since then, that's been our motto: is friendship is essential to the soul. And our fraternity is founded on that. And so I've always been a friendly dude, and I've always been the life of the party, and the Qs are usually the life of the party. And that was just, my dad was the life of the party. And I thought I actually thought that you had to be the life of the party and smart to be an Omega. That's what I thought. That's what I grew up thinking, because all of my dad's brothers were all college educated men, and this was back in the day when, and in Gary, Indiana, you did, this is another, I'm sorry, I'm digressing a little bit, but most of the men in Gary, Indiana at the time I grew up, I saw working people. I don't have the story of, living in the ghetto and, not, even though my mother and father were divorced, there were a lot of men around me. I saw Black men who worked. Gary was a working man's town. That was a union town. People all worked. Everybody in my neighborhood had a job. So it was, I saw Black men who prospered and who made things happen. And they were all members of fraternities. And then my mom was a Delta. So I saw all of that. I saw all of that early, and I was indoctrinated early. So, purple and gold has been in my heart for before I even got to Howard. It was almost like a destiny. And it's so funny because 14 was my line number. My dad was a 14 on line. And so my birthday is 4/14. So there's a whole bunch of cryptic kind of symbolic stuff going on in me and Omega. So that's where I am.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Try to speed it up here. Since we got some veteran, we don't have any neos on the panel. So since we got and stuff for it, so we're just, but just thinking back, what's your experience in the fraternity, in the sororities? What do you think the purpose was for, as far as sororities, and not the stuff you read in the book, but the stuff that you have seen, that the things that work? What do you think the purpose was for the fraternities and sororities, as far as to exist during college?
Are you saying then, or are you saying now? What's the purpose then, or what is the purpose now?
Both, during college and afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll just jump in. If you're saying what was the purpose then, the purpose, I think, distinctly back in when all of these fraternities and sororities were starting was there was a a proclivity for people to get together and merge and to be one voice and to be one sound, one band, you know, and many of the fraternities and sororities at that time were started because they were based in getting a group of people together who were like-minded. And I think the whole Greek thing, and I can't put my finger exactly on all of the Greekdom, but the Greeks were people misunderstand history. The Greeks weren't all European. You know, Greeks are, you know, the Greek philosophy is based on African history, the African knowledge. You know, the pyramids and the Greeks and all of that stuff moved that way. Greece is real close to Africa. You know, people don't realize that. So they don't understand what all of it is about. And so they don't understand their history. And so I think moving that forward, there is a definitely, especially in this time of day right now, and the time that we're in, we need organizations that can all have unity together to bring people together. You know, whatever it takes to bring us together, we need those organizations, and that's still prevalent today, especially in this time with I think the present political climate. There is definitely a need for Black people, especially Black educated people, to stick together and to plan and to organize on a regular basis. We need that.
Okay. Dr. G?
I think that the purpose at that time, at least for the founders of Sigma Gamma Rho, was certainly to come together. And it was important that they do that because of the time. In 1922, in Indiana, I mean, Butler University was sort of housed right next door to the Grand Master of the KKK. And so
True.
they were living that reality, trying to go to school and trying to educate themselves in a time when Blackness was, really perpetrated upon with violence and discrimination and all of these things. And so the sisters at that time, the founders felt it important that they come together to unite, but also to just be a protection for one another, to encourage one another and to embrace one another during a very difficult time, in our history. And also for Sigma Gamma Rho, as I mentioned before, these were educators. And so they saw a need to develop an organization that was built on and based upon academics first. And, making sure that service would be to continue the legacy of educating, right? So for them, it was more like a safe haven, some way for them to be amongst like-minded sisters who were in pursuit of academic knowledge, but also to be protected in a time when we just didn't have much protection.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. G. Brother Henry Thomas.
Well, I mean, Brother Lewis kind of answered a lot of the questions that I was going to say, but as a goal, as a people, and I look at my life and I look at other Black men's life in America, and Black women that say we're always looking for that avenue to come together as a friend and camaraderie. At that time at Howard in 1911, based basically more on the generic side of the story or whatever, there was a fear basically of Black men coming together, starting something, even though there were already other organizations, the Alphas, they were on campus, those things of that particular nature. But Omega Psi Phi was the first Black fraternity started on an all-Black college campus. And it was something that had to be proven. You know, basically, can we start something that, you know, will last for eternity? It's funny because when I look at things back then, and I hear people talk about things that happened back then and things that happen now, we struggle with some of the same things that
True.
that we're dealing with today. Like if
True.
you see too many black people get together and start talking in Walmart, they have to be a gang. You know what I'm saying? Those
Mm-hmm.
kind of things like that. And the fraternity life is basically about, you know, bringing educated black men and women together and showing a positive light. That light of, you know, showing in a different kind of fashion, whether it is professional or educational, or, you know, from an economic standpoint. You know, being a businessman myself, I own several businesses. Being in economics, being a CPA, you know, coming together and just, you know, trying to do business together and be entrepreneurs and do things together as a group, and trying to move to the next level. I was raised in a household that basically you have to do something in your time for the next generation to be better. And I think fraternities and sororities, they provided that outlet. You know what I'm saying? They provide that when the brothers get together and we're doing community based programs, and we're doing it as a unit, um, as far as doing business, as far as doing a lot of different things or whatever. Um, that fraternity, it gives you it gives you something, and so for every barrier that is broken down, you know what I'm saying, there's another barrier that, you know, has to be knocked out of the way as well. And so, you know, that's what the fraternity gives. You know, it gives you that love. It gives you a lot of caring. You know what I'm saying? It gives you the things that you need, and you can give that back. And one of our main principles is uplift. You know what I'm saying? And in uplift, that provides, well, we have to reach back down and bring, you know, the last person back up. I don't care what circumstance it is. Like Brother Lewis was saying, you know, not leaving a brother behind, you know, based on stigmatism of color. And I know that's another topic in another day. You know what I'm saying? But we still have a lot to deal with as far as institutional prejudice and racism and a lot of different things. And a fraternity provides a good avenue for that.
Okay. And Brother Information Man.
Well, let me say right here in Alpha Phi Alpha, we have a saying about going upward, onward, and upward towards the light. To the youth, our history book is dedicated to the youth who move onward and upward towards the light. What that brother said earlier is on point. Are we continuing to move onward and upward towards the light today? Because some of the same things that we struggle with, our founders of our organization struggled with. Now, I don't know about all the other organizations on this panel, but Alpha Phi Alpha being the first, we were created out of being a study social club, meaning Black men coming together at Cornell University, very racist environment. Now, a lot of people may not know this and may know this. There was a small Black community in Ithaca, New York at that time. And so those Black men came together, those 7 Black men came together to support each other academically on a campus that was not friendly to them. Now, that is familiar to all Black people. We always historically have had to come together to support each other through trials and tribulations. And you have to imagine that if you're coming together as an organization, as a collective of Black men on a mostly all white campus, they're going to look at you and say, wait a minute, this is a threat that's being created here. So one of the things that a lot of these organizations have to keep in mind in terms of our history is that, why did we adapt Greek letters? Why did we adapt things? Because Black people have had to always adapt to our environment. to make those think that we want to be like them, even though our traditions and our values and the things that we do are totally different. So when you look at Alpha Phi Alpha, some of our founders, one of our founders was the Egyptologist, had dabbled in that, which is why we go with the Sphinx and the Egyptian, the black and gold that has symbolicness to Africa or to Kemet. And when you talk about why Black people call themselves Greeks, I'm sure all of you on here have read the book Stolen Legacies. And we know Tony Brown's journal, who is also an Alpha man. I'm proud to say that he had a program and an article about this showing how you had African presence or Black presence in Athens, Greece. That you had 300 BC, you had many Black, what you would call Black Greeks. We certainly call ourselves African Americans today. We associate ourselves with America, where you had Black people that were Greek, as well as you had Esau Fables, right? That was a Black man. So, and then when you look at Stolen Legacies, the Greek language was stolen, as the brother said, by African tradition. So when we use the Greek lettering, we're actually taking back which was already ours that comes out of African writing, because the Europeans or the Greeks, they changed everything. And Stolen Legacy talks about that, how they came in and changed stuff, changed the lettering, manipulated, and many of them were students in that mystery system, right? So this is why when we say, well, we're Greeks, we're not saying we're Greeks in terms of we're trying to associate as being European, but we cannot deny the impact and the history of African presence in that world, in that place. So even though the Black fraternities and sororities, we may use these Greek letters, if you look deeper into our history and our rituals, a lot of our rituals are very African, very cultural in nature in everything that we do. So I think that our founders were doing the best they could to protect themselves, to stay true to their culture and to who they were. And Black people have always been under siege in this society. And these fraternities and sororities represent the best of us. And so, and just, I don't want to take up the whole mic, but Art, we definitely, before we leave, need to talk about this whole negativity towards this whole thing about the boule and what that means. Because we got a lot of Black folks on YouTube and about talking about the boule, but yet at the same time, they may have someone like P. Newton on their wall they look up to, not realizing that brother was a Sigma. So there's many Black people that are in these organizations that were doing great things to the causes of where we are, and then we got Black folks talking about us in a negative manner, and then we get on YouTube in particular talking about how we need to be the best of ourselves, and when Black people try to be the best of themselves, you know, and then we're being criticized when we're looking for the best of ourselves. I'll end there.
Okay, so we're going to touch on that a little bit more. The other part is I think this is like a touchy subject for a lot of people that's out there listening probably. Why is the how can I say? Why would the Black fraternities and sororities be only limited to universities other than community colleges or just being a walk-in type organization? A lot of people are really, really, I don't know if the word is butthurt or what it is, but you know, do you have any kind of perspective to give on that kind of notion?
I'll quickly say, you know, all of our fraternities and organizations are founded on. I guarantee you, in each one of the fraternities and sororities, one of the key pillars of the organization is scholarship.
Yes,
is learning, is education.
yes.
You cannot be part of something. You know, you cannot be part of something where you're uneducated. I'm sorry. I mean, you know, you don't give a lawyer a degree and they don't know how to read. Now, of course you can go take the bar and become a jurisprudence if you've never gone to law school. There ain't many of them. You know, there are many doctors that can pass the MCATs without have gone to med school. So I think part of the understanding of what it takes to be in a fraternity or sorority is being educated and being in college. That's what it takes. Now you can do it after you leave, but one of the criteria still for being in the fraternity and the sorority is having a college degree. That's why they're not. That's why recently there have been some. I know personally of some men that have tried to get into our fraternity and have been rejected based on their whatever their celebrity or whatever it was their notoriety and their desire to be an Omega wanted them to be a part of the group, but they don't have college degrees. So we can't, hey, look, man, what are we going to do? That's part of the pillar of our organization is scholarship. The Sigma Gamma Rho was founded by women that were educated. They were trying to educate themselves. So what are we doing here? If you're not educated, why you want to be a part of something you're not qualified to be in? That's all I'm saying.
Well, I would add something to what Brother Lewis is saying. I don't know if this pertains to Greek organizations or anything of that particular nature, especially the Black Greek organizations. But I'm just going to base it off society. Okay? I'm a coach. I coach sports. So we live in a society where basically every kid should play. We live in a society where basically
some of these kids suck.
Every kid should get an A. Or the point I'm trying to make here is I remember what my old math teacher in 8th grade told me. He goes, your grade is what it is. That's the grade that you earned. In order to succeed, you have to do the work first. And there are certain requirements that you have to obtain. So basically, if you don't do the work, then they don't move you on to the next grade. We would like to think that, but that's what they're not supposed to do. Okay? Mm-hmm. What Brother Lewis is saying is, the criteria is education. There's a criteria of going to college. The fraternity has set fraternities and sororities have set certain criterias. And that is a part of the structure of the organizations. So when you take away that structure, you lose your foundation. So if there's not going to be any foundation or structure, then you just let everybody in. So I don't understand what the argument is about. The argument is saying that we should just let people just come in. No, they have to earn it. You just like I tell my kids every day, everything you get in life, you have to work for it. You have to earn it. Sometimes you work for things and it don't work out the way you plan it. Okay. So you have to take a different route. But the bottom line is there's criteria. There's things you have to work for. The fraternity has criteria. The sororities, they have criteria, and that criteria is education.
I'm sorry, brothers. What was the question?
Okay. It was okay. Like
I heard the brother speak on behalf of SG Row. I just want to know what the question was so I can catch up.
The question was, like right now, I mean, for since we begin, Black fraternities, sororities was basically exclusive for universities, or university, private institutions that have university type accreditation. So, but the thing is, why only universities? Why not, community colleges or just people just walking in and being a member? I think that's a lot of people's consensus that's not in the organization. So what say you on that?
Let me, okay.
Go ahead, Dr. G, or Info, or whoever wants to chime in.
I'm gonna just say one little thing real quick. If I'm not mistaken, in San Francisco, at City College in San Francisco, Iota Phi Theta, if I'm saying that correct, I think they allow their organization to initiate people through the junior college, through junior college.
Wow.
And when I was back east, and I'm not trying to throw any shade, we don't have someone that's a member of Sigma, but I almost think I met a brother who said he came through a junior. So just like some organizations may have this legacy policy, or they will make someone a member, an honorary member, which personally, I'm glad that in Alpha Phi Alpha we don't have honorary. I don't like, this is my personal pet peeve, I don't like honorary memberships, personally. But some organizations do, and I'm not trying to throw shade, but I just think, I'm kind of old school that way. I don't know. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, Sigma Gamma Rho does have regional undergrads who are at the junior college. It's a fairly new practice, but in my former chapter, we actually initiated a young lady who was going through the junior college to receive her degree. She was an undergraduate. Yeah. I mean, but I for my personal opinion, and I just want to emphasize my personal opinion, I think that being educated and being able to go out and be a productive working citizen is the point. To be able to have that scholastic prowess at whatever level you choose to do it. So I think it's a good idea that we not disregard our trades women and men and our brothers and sisters who have found a way to get themselves educated to the degree that they need to pursue the career that they want. That might not necessarily be the university. So I think it's a good look to consider them.
Here's my only thing. Yes, I think that there's a thing for advancing people who are in who are not students of college. There might be something to that, but that is I think that's the quintessential thing that the other brother was going back to. We live in this society where everybody feels they should be a part of something when they don't. The rules are the way they are. Some things are the way they are, and you can't if you don't have 4.3 speed, you don't have 4.5 speed, you're not 240 pounds, you're not gonna be a linebacker in the NFL. Everybody can't be in the NFL. Everybody can't be in the. Everybody can't be in the NBA. I don't care. There are some 7-foot people that aren't in the NBA. Why? Because they don't have the skills. They don't have the criteria. So I think that you can't be a part of something that you're not qualified to be a part of. It's like. And I'm using it as entertainment business as a prime example. Everybody thinks they can act. Everybody thinks they can write. Everybody thinks it's like, dude, no. If everybody can do it, everybody can do it. And so there are a lot of people that want to be a part of something that, dude, this is the way it is. And I think that you got to have some criteria, and you got to have some standards, and you got to have some. Otherwise, you would allow any and everybody in, and then there's no distinction or it's just like another social club. Because the fraternity and I think sororities are not social clubs. That's not what they are. They're not. It's not like being a part of the union. It's different. It's a little different. So I think that we have criteria for a reason, and scholarship is part of the thing. You might be able to play as undergrad. I mean, you might be able to play as a grad chapter somewhere doing something like that. But I think even the grad chapters, the requirements are you should have a college degree. And anything other than that needs to be subjected to serious scrutiny. What is the criteria that we're using to advance your entrance into our fraternity based on something you don't have? What else? What else do you bring to the fraternity that or what else? Because you definitely are saying, hey, I'm forgoing the scholarship kind of part of it because we asked that everyone have a college degree because that's where all the fraternities were started. They weren't started at a juke joint. They weren't started in a club.
Oh, I agree with that, and I think you make an excellent case there. And so again, just in considering our brothers and sisters from the junior college, because they would have a college degree.
Exactly. That's different.
And from the trade school, because they too would have a college degree. The young lady that we initiated, who was who's considered a regional undergrad because she was coming from a junior college and we did not have a chapter there, a charter there, I should say, has become one of the most active participants in the chapter and in our sorority. She is my sister and I love her, and I'm glad that we had an opportunity to expand so that we could capture the likes of her. But yeah, I do agree that scholarship is necessary. It's very important. A person who would be coming into a fraternity or sorority who does not have the college experience, they really couldn't fit in very well, to be honest, because a lot of what we do is based on the notion that we are all college degreed and we've been through that process.
Right.
Yeah. So did everybody answer the question?
Sure.
All right, can I say just a few words on this?
Okay.
Everything in life has a criteria. It's funny how we as Black people, we don't question about when white people have criteria for how you get into their school or their jobs. So it seems like when Black people have criteria amongst ourselves, now it's all of a sudden there's a problem. If you wanted to be a Prince Hall Mason, and many of us in these organizations are brothers or members of these organizations, even in those organizations which were designed for the common man, there is a criteria. There is a criteria. If I'm in high school and I want to go out for the basketball team, there's a certain criteria. I must be able to play basketball. So the reality is everything in life, you have to earn it. You have Righteous Passage programs for our youth. Everything is about earning something. And even for people in junior college, if you give everybody something, what is the incentive? What incentive do they have? So I think this is why I don't really personally like at junior college level, because the incentive is to get your butt into a 4-year school, whatever, get that education. And if you say to yourself, hey, I'm interested in a particular organization, academics, and that can also drive you. So we want things that drive people. And some of our people will look at this as being elitist, but at the same time, we'll say that we need to have standards. And like I said before, Art, when Black people have standards, now we're being looked at as elitist. So we can't have it both ways. We can't say we want standards, but at the same time, we just can't have it both ways. So I think it's important to have criteria. And I'm sorry, this is what it is. Every organization, every job, everything in this society requires you to have a criteria to make it. That's the bottom line. I'm sorry. That's the way life is.
So I'm gonna throw some more meat out there because this gonna hit on both sides here on there. I don't know if the non-members and members. They often compare Black Greek organizations to gangs.
Don't do that.
Somebody touch on that?
Don't do that. Stop it.
Well, I think in terms of some of the components of Greek organizations and perhaps maybe gangs, I've never been in a gang, so I have to speak from the exterior of what I know about that. But in terms of having various groups, right, that are sort of exclusive, you can't just walk in and be a part of that group, right? There's a criteria, if you will, like Infoman just laid out, right? We have colors that represent who we are, and we don't expect to see anyone else in those colors, right? We have a handshake in our sorority, and so I can meet a sister who is a sister and know without speaking to her how she shakes my hand if she is truly a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And so some of the practices might feel like that to an outsider, but you know, we're about scholarship, sisterhood, and service. And I don't want to say anything disparaging about gangs, because what I know about them is that many people go there when they feel like they have nowhere else to go. But in terms of the underworld sort of notion to the gang life and the adverse to law and committing, you know, malfeasance for whatever reason that do not correlate with the law and that kind of thing, yeah, there's no connection when we start talking about that kind of stuff. But just on the you know, from the very surface, there might be some things that people can see that they feel like from an outsider looking in might mimic that. And I would just say from a real shallow exterior place, but nothing deep, you know. And that's all I can say, really, because, again, I can't speak about gangs. I've never been in one. But from what I know, the things that I mentioned might be the reason why they think that.
Well, I like to just add something to that. I think people, they fear the things they don't understand. And so what happens is when they look at, you know, Black Greeks, fraternities and sororities, they don't understand everything that they want to understand. They only know from the outside looking in. So because they're looking from the outside or whatever, they have to make assumptions. I used to, about 25 years ago, I worked in public accounting. I worked for one of the big public accounting firms, and actually right now in the world. But it was a gang of us. We were all young accountants. We would get off from work and we go down to the local watering hole. Okay. And when we would walk in, this bartender say, "Man, there's those gang of accountants again. Something's gonna happen tonight." Okay. So basically you had these accountants who were college educated. They were referred to as gangs. Okay. And just like I brought up the notion again earlier today, when, you know, 5 people get together and start to congregate in Walmart, people may perceive them to be a gang because they don't know what's going on, and they want to know what's going on, but, you know, they're either afraid to ask or to get involved or whatever. So, and that's kind of what happens with the fraternity and sorority situation. Is it's easier to reference, especially when it comes to Black people, with something that is negative instead of positive when there's a group. Even when I listen to the news or whatever, or I listen to, you know, people, they'll say, "Well, man, there was 300 Black people and nothing happened." You know what I'm saying? Like there was something that was supposed to happen. Like we can't get together because this is the society that we live in. So I can't really answer the question for what you're saying. You know, it's all based on every individual, and they have to look deep inside themselves and ask themselves the question: are you stereotyping a certain group, a certain people, or whatever, and go from there? That's a question that can't be answered.
All right,
I'll go ahead. Go ahead, man. You go first.
all right, let me just say this, brother, real quick. Look at what a gang comprises of. Look at the definition. It's simply a group of people who come together, who share same values and identity, who organize. So the word itself, gang, if you really think about it, isn't really negative. It's society has put a negative connotation, a negative spin on it. And where I'm going with this is to say, it seems like to me, when Black people come together and organize, it is seen as a negative by this society. When Europeans come together, and white people come together, it's seen as, oh, they're doing business. They're going to create something. So the gang, the whole thing about gangs is becomes a negative notion when you put Black people in, right? Now, in 2006, Alpha Phi Alpha, we had our Centennial Convention, and I'm so happy that I was there to experience it. And one of the things I came away with when we left there is that there were folks there that said we couldn't believe how peaceful things were. There was nothing negative that happened. You brothers greeted each other. There was no violence. Everyone was respectful. And the shame of that is that people were expecting that we were going to come to Washington, D.C. and tear up the town. Now people had, now let's be honest, we have our fun. Things do happen, especially with undergrads. I was an undergrad advisor, and I've had to get in the butts of the undergrads when they've gotten themselves in trouble and doing silly things. But overall, Black men came together. There was no fighting. The hotel didn't get torn up. We were respectful, and people were shocked by that because they associate anything with Black people as negative. So even when we organize in fraternities and sororities, we will do what? Undervalue, underestimate, and say, oh, you guys are a gang. And even Black folks do that to each other because we've been culturally conditioned to not like each other and associate ourselves with something negative. Even when Black folks come together in a fraternity and sorority, we are organized, and you want to use that term, we are organized gang of we want positiveness, the betterment. That's what we are, if you want to put that term, okay?
Also, if you look up the word gang, a gang is actually defined by the dictionary as an organized group of criminals. That's the first thing. A gang is considered a group of criminals. So none of our fraternities were founded by criminals. None of our sororities or fraternities basis is in criminal activity. So that's the first mistake, is to call us a gang. We're not gang affiliated, and we're not criminal enterprises. The problem is that Louis Farrakhan said it best. He said, he said that one of the greatest fears of white folks is for Black people to be organized. It's a fear. It's the ultimate fear, that because they know that one, we're probably, and I say this as a fact, we're probably physically stronger than, because you didn't have any weak links when they got off that boat. All the weak links died in that passage. You had to be the strongest, most mentally and physically dominant people in the world to have made that trip in the bottom of that ship. Mm-hmm. So you had to, when you got through slavery, when you're passing down generational work, you're breeding thoroughbreds, and they know that. So to call us a gang is to subjugate us to a group of criminals. Is to say their enterprise is criminal, and the crime that they think we're going to perpetrate is assault.
Right. They
think we're going to assault them and take over and do to them what they've done to us. But that's not Black people's. That's not our thing. Now, gangs, yeah, they're retaliatory. That's what they do. They're protecting something and owning something that isn't even theirs. True. A block, a piece of territory that they think and it's so funny that and I always found that so mysterious. Here's a group of people that claim ownership to a piece of property, and none of them own any property.
Yeah,
true.
You Negroes is talking about, hey, this is Fifth Street. How many of you Negroes own a house on Fifth Street?
Which is why
None of them.
us out of these communities.
None of them own a house. None of them own a piece of property. None of them own nothing, but will claim an area like, don't you come over here. Why? So the reality is this. I cringe at the thought. You don't call the Army a gang. You don't call firemen a gang. You don't call the Marines a gang. You don't call a group of church people a gang. That's a negative stereotype that people put on Black people because that's what they want to associate groups of Black men with. You don't call a football team a gang. You don't call the Golden State Warriors a gang. You call them champion. You call them a team.
That's well said, brother. Well said.
So that's just some negative foolishness brought on by people who don't understand, who are trying to negatively stereotype a group of positive people. And here's something else that I rail against: the fact that my organization, Omega Psi Phi, was started by a group of Christian men. Christian. Our bylaws and our founding principles are based on Christian value. We do have Muslims and people, but they understand. Listen, this is our foundation. So to incorporate that foolish devil myth. It's the devil, it's the Illuminati, and I get so infuriated when I hear Black people talk like this. I was like, so what? The devil had to help Black people get ahead? We just can't be talented? We just can't make money? We had to have the devil. What is that saying about y'all?
Art, he brings up a very good point because Art, on YouTube, there's people out there that have talked about our organizations. They take our symbols and they try to say that our symbols are about the Illuminati, that our symbols is about some type of devilish thing. And I'm gonna tell you right now, just I can speak from our organization, they don't know what they're talking about because they don't know our founders, what our founders did. When you look at Alpha history, Omega Psi Phi, Sigma, all of it is Black history. All of it history and struggle to improve the circumstances of Black people. A lot of these folks, like you said, people are scared of things that they don't know. They look at our symbolisms and they automatically demonize it, and I don't even know that a lot of our symbolisms have their roots in Christianity, which a lot of Black folks say that they're Christian, have their root in African culture and symbolism, which a lot of folks want to say that they want to connect to Africa, and it has its connection to us as Black people here in America and what we've gone through. So when you do this, demonize us like that, you're actually demonizing your own history because our organizations are a part of your history. I'll end right there, brother.
Yeah, so that so I guess I'll go to this then.
And I just want to add something too, brother artist. Carter G. Woodson. He was a member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And he promoted Black history to the fullest. And that's why every February, even though Black history is every day, but every February, because of what this man has done, we celebrate our heritage, our history in America.
Mm-hmm.
And that's through Black Greek life.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me say this too. What about the Negro anthem? A lot of Black folks get into that song, and a lot of Black people that will be critical of our organizations don't even realize they're singing a song that was written by a Sigma man, someone who's a member of these organizations. Right? That's what I'm saying. We are a part of a Black history. And that's why Black folks need to really be careful when they listen to people putting out propaganda about our organizations, and it's negative propaganda, and they don't even realize that we are part of the history of why we have what we have today in terms of some of our benefits that we do have. Now, we have a lot to continue to fight for. Of course, nothing's perfect, but people need to really do their research a lot better and listen to people coming up with all this hocus pocus talk.
Yeah, so I guess the other question too, so you kind of touched on it, Bernard, so about the whole thing about Greek philosophy, science, and spiritual systems and all that kind of stuff. I mean, just to clear things up, would you say that Black Greek fraternities and sororities practice some kind of Greek spirituality, just like you would have in Hotep or Kemetic science type person or religion? I mean, would you say that, or is something that's not historic? Because a lot of people are giving people that impression.
Your Fred brother on here, I'm sorry if I'm not saying his name, he made a good point. He said that a lot of the organizations have its origins in Christianity. I know for a fact when we talk about our fraternity prayers and our hymns, when we sing our hymns and we clutch hands, a lot of these hymns come out of the church. What were Black people doing in the church? They were singing hymns. When Black people were on the plantation, they were singing hymns, giving messages on how to escape from the plantation. They were singing hymns to get through the pain of picking cotton. So a lot of what we do in our fraternities and sororities has its origins in our history as a people. From the passages that we read, the poems that we recite, and people don't know that because unfortunately, they're not in the organization. They're simply listening to someone from the outside. And let me just say this. I gotta say this, brother. This has been my experience in my 30 years that a lot of times people who criticize our organizations, come on now, y'all know what I'm saying is about to be true. A lot of these are people who at one time wanted to be a part of the organization. And for whatever reason, they didn't get picked. They got dropped from line or they didn't meet the criteria. Right? And then they got some kind of anger and personal vendetta against our organization. Then when they get a certain status in life and have an audience, now they go in on our organizations. It's been my experience that there's people that do this.
So are you saying that there's a lot of people out there that have sour grapes that talks about organizations that are not a part of?
Well, in my experience, I'm talking about my experience. I don't want to bring a broad brush. It's been my experience in my 30 years in my organization that I have seen a lot of people who criticize our organizations who secretly wanted to be in the organization themselves, or they were dropped from line. They didn't make it. They had sour grapes about their process. Something didn't work out for them, and they have some vendetta. I've seen people like this personally that have done this.
Right. And I'm just going to read something. Man. This is from our hymn. Just second stanza. To all thy precepts, make us true. Live nobly as all real men do. Let manhood be our eternal shrine with faith in God and heart and mind. See, that was written back in 1912.
So it wasn't with faith in Caesar or Alexander,
no, or the Illuminati or nothing like that. So, dude, what I'm talking about is people don't understand, man, and that's the quintessential issue is that people are afraid and will disparage what they don't understand or what they cannot be a part of. So you have to poo-poo it. You have to throw shade at it. Oh man, that's some garbage. No, it's some garbage because you couldn't be a part of it. And so that's what a lot of people do. And one of the things they do is to try to disparage by saying it's part of the devil, or it's part of some secret society that worships the devil, or that's got some societal what I want to say is negative societal norms are what your fraternity is about. And I'm like, dude, that you just don't understand, because my organization My organization is based on the precepts of Christianity and love and brotherhood and manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. That's what my fraternity is about. And what you heard is something you're hearing, getting hearsay information, and you don't know nothing because you ain't a part of it. But I know different because I'm a man of Omega, and I know different.
Now, how do you guys respond to? Because I hear this a lot, especially on Black YouTube too. When you talk about Black fraternities and sororities, you usually put the word in elitist or bougie. I mean, what's you guys' take on that? You know, like, is that another broad stroke method of communication about Greek fraternities and sororities, or what's your take?
I look at it like this. Yeah. You know what? I accept that mantle, and you know what? Guess why? Because the New England Patriots are an elite team. Super Bowl winners are an elite group of people. Okay, and what's your problem? The president, there have only been 48 presidents or 45 presidents. They're elite. That's an elite group of people. I don't care if they've all been white. I'm just telling you, the fact is that's an elite group of people. It takes a certain kind of person to be a U.S. senator. It takes a certain kind of person. That's an elite group of people. Some things you do are elite. Some things you do are special. Some things that make being an NFL player makes you an elite athlete. Going to the Olympics makes you elite. Okay, and why is that negative when it comes to Black people? Why is my success negative? Why is my achievement into a special group of people negative? Ask yourself that. I dare somebody to come tell me I'm elite. Okay, thank you. Yes, I am. I'm elite. I am special. God made me special. He made you special. But don't make my organization and what I've aspired to. You cannot make my success negative. You're not going to do that. And anyone that cowers to that and goes, it is elitist. Don't be a coward. You're being a coward. You letting these negative people, you letting these haters make you disavow what you spent 4 or 5 weeks dying to do. Get out of here, man. Go on with that. Go on with that. You would never tell a Marine, you would never tell a Navy SEAL he's elitist. Right. That's what it is. A Navy SEAL is an elite military man. You're never going to tell a Marine he's not elite. Only Negroes do that. Anytime you hear that kind of foolishness, that's coming out of some ignorant, and I'll say it right now, some ignorant, backwards, uneducated, ill-informed individual. Yes, and I would love to somebody to tell me, oh man, you Greeks are elite. Thank you. I thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your acknowledgement. You know. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, all the Black men, all the men I know, all the men that I know in my organization, we don't feel elite amongst each other.
Preach, brother.
Right.
I'm not elite to this man right here. Me and him are the same. We understand our sameness, and that sameness, that sameness that makes us, that binds us, that sameness that creates the bond of manhood. That we're the same. That you're no different from me, and I'm no different. We put our pants on the same. That uniqueness is again what makes us elite.
See, Mark, brother, the reason why your frat has that mindset is because let's go back to the basics. When all of us were online, we were taught to act as one heartbeat, to not look down on another brother, to know everything about that brother. I had to recite to my big brothers everything I knew about it. I was on a 7-man line, a jewel line, as we call it. I had to know everything about every man on that line. If I didn't have my clothing on right, then the whole line was messed up. We had to act as one unit.
Yeah,
and that's something that people from the outside don't understand. Talk about unit. That's why that brother said exactly what he said about we're not elite amongst each other, because amongst each other, we see each other as the same in one brotherhood, or maybe you have a sisterhood. And that is what I think is the best of what Black people need. And Art, you know as well as we know that when we've been on panels and we're talking about all this Pookie and Ray Ray stuff, that brothers are always talking about, we're going to have to separate ourselves. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to make sure our women and our men are doing this, and our kids. And everything that they're saying that we need to be doing, like I said before, they'll look down on organizations like the Black fraternities and sororities, or the Jack and Jill organizations. And these are organizations that are what? They're looking for the best of Black people. The very thing that we spend time debating about on YouTube with Black people. And then when we have something like that, now the word elite comes out. So the question is, do Black people want to see each other rise, or we just want to be in the mud together?
Well, one thing I have to say about this too, and just to piggyback on what Brother Lewis has said earlier about a Marine being an elitist, being a military man being elitist. When you go into the military, they send you to boot camp.
exactly.
When you come into a fraternity or sorority, then we put you through our training, our system of baby pledging, what we call pledging. Because we want to ensure that you're trained in the ideas of our organizations. Okay? With Black people, there is a history. Okay? When we are successful, society always tries to minimize our accomplishments. I seen that with President Obama when he was in office, like everybody else did. Here's a Harvard graduate, president of the United States. People after his character, they want his education. Okay? And these are the things that we deal with and we continue to deal with. Okay? So in order to be an elitist, like Brother Lewis said, to make it to be a president, you are an elitist. Our fraternities and sororities, they are elite organizations, and they have the right to call themselves that. Now, you have a right as an individual, if you want to be a part of these organizations,
Become elite. Shoot.
So that's all I'm gonna say about it. I'm gonna keep it simple. So basically, you just have to, you have to want to be a part and do your part. And if it's important to you, you will do the things to meet the criteria to be in these organizations. And like Brother Informational said, there's always going to be those group of people, the young people call them haters, out there who don't want to see other people succeed. But nobody sees you at night. When you've been up, you studied 18 hours or 20 hours at night. Nobody sees that. They just show up to the graduation. And so, they don't see the real work behind the scene that has to be done. Michael Jordan shot 1,000 shots a day. They called him the greatest. You have that option. Everybody has the same option.
Dr. G?
So I don't disagree. Okay, I don't disagree. What I'd like to clarify, though, is what I feel as a result of having achieved my education and grinding it out, doing that and walking across that stage and then becoming a part of the best sorority on the planet. Absolutely, there is an elitism attached to that process and what it stands for in my life. No doubt about it. What I don't want, however, is for that to separate me from the people.
Mhm.
I'm already connected to my sorors. And then just by virtue of having gone through this process, I'm connected to the other sororities because we're all Greek, right? We've all gone through some certain process. But I don't want to be separate from the people. I think that what I've done has enabled me to now put the people who could never do what I've done in a position to began to realize how they might actually be able to do it when they thought they never could. And if I have a mindset, and this is just my opinion, if I have a mindset of elitism that separates me from the people, then I've not done what I need to do with this education, which is go back into my community or within my community, wherever that happens to be, and avail opportunities to them based on what I've achieved. I think that having an elitist mindset could keep me from, or any of us, it could keep us from being from having that mindset, in that we need to really be about true service to our people and avail opportunities to them. And I don't want to be separate from the people because I've achieved something that perhaps some of my sisters couldn't have achieved.
Can I clarify something? And this is the one thing about some of the poetry that we also read. There's a humble humanity that comes with being in my fraternity, and it's my humble humanity, and I understand the difference. I am forever feel connected to my people. You know, I will always feel connected to helping and serving, because that's a part of what our fraternity does. We have service projects that we're supposed to do service. We're supposed to help one, reach back and help others. The pledge period is not just for bringing in new people; it's to help those other brothers get through. So what I say simply is that there is a connectiveness to my humanity, and if you have humble humanity toward people, you'll always be connected to them, regardless of what you achieve. I like let me give you a prime example. I think people will say, like, and I'm trying to use an example, like people talk about Oprah Winfrey's humanity. She's helping people. She tries to help people. She feels connected to try and help people. I dare say she's not an elite person. She knows it because she's worth $1 billion. She knows that she has all of this stuff. She knows that from what I understand, people seem to feel that she has a humble humanity toward helping people. It's the same thing like you felt like when people said about Barack Obama. He knew he was an elite individual, but Michelle Obama knows she's an elite individual. I think she knows that in her heart. But you feel her humanity, and you feel her humility when she's trying to help people. And so I say I think that is the thing about our organizations, and most of them. I think there is a humble humanity, service-driven institution inside of all of our organizations. That was one of the things that when we came through, even as a pledge group, we had service projects.
Yes. Art, I wanted to add to what the brother is saying because it's so real. When I was online, once upon a time, we had this thing called, you had to go through they used the term smoker at that time. And they don't have it anymore, but we had this thing called a special, like a special interest group. We were Men in Alpha. So
right.
Even before I went online, I was a part of this social club, this club called Men Interested in Alpha. And part of that is that we had to prove ourselves by pulling up our sleeves and getting involved in the community. When I was online, I remember over and over again, brothers telling me, what you gonna do for the community? What you gonna do? What is your purpose? So a lot of people on the outside don't understand, much as they want to call us elitists, that when we go through our process, we're always being caught on the carpet as to what are we going to do for our community? And people forget that a lot of us come from the community, okay? And we were involved in a program in Sandale Housing Project area, and we were working with young men who I'm proud to say have gone on to college, that have improved their life. So our organizations have always been about the betterment and making of our community. People keep making it seem like that because they see us as elite, that somehow that means that we turn our back on our community. That's where we are. That's where our programs are. Many of our national programs, and then we have our undergrad chapters that are doing fantastic things in all these various individual communities. So that's where we are. That's where we've been grounded. So people who think that we're not, that is not true.
Yeah, the narrative that I keep hearing on I guess these YouTube treats is that when they go with the whole elitist bougie type thing, they're trying to say that it seems like they're trying to say that the sororities and fraternities are nothing but white collared workers and don't really care about their community.
And that's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
That's an outright lie.
As an active member of Sigma Gamma Rho sorority, my chapter dedicates its time to doing that very necessary community work. I mean, we are providing clothes and all types of accessories and such to women's shelters. We are having book bag drives where we're giving tons and tons of school supplies away to children every year before school begins. We have a youth symposium annually where we bring the kids together and begin to impress upon them the importance of scholarship, leadership, communalism. We're doing all kinds of highway cleanup and, going into the hospitals with at the first of the year and gifting children who are born with gifts, and the parents with, things to help them get started with that. All of the service that we do is in and for the community. The chapter that we're in, we service that community, and our chapter is in the city of St. Louis. That's Black people,
I'm from St. Louis. I was born there. St. John's Hospital. I was born in St. John's Hospital. I just want to say this too, man. Listen, I want to say this, man. That I don't think there's any Greek organization that doesn't have service as a part of their process. Part of what they do is service back to the community. We have mandated the chapters itself, by the organization itself. We have mandated service projects. We have you must do a blood drive every year.
Yep.
That's part of our service. Why? Because Charles R. Drew was my friend brother.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are, staying connected to the community and servicing those communities in which we're in is part of what the fraternity and sororities are about. That's what we were. That's why we were. That's why they were created.
Right.
Yeah.
It was about service. It really is about serving the purpose of making Black people working together. Because at a time, even on an HBCU at Howard University, there was no solace and there was no comfort outside of the yard.
Right.
That's the reason why I put in that video in the beginning.
Yeah, man.
Because it's kind of hard to, people say that they're part of this secret organization that's helping the powers that be undermine their own people and doing the whole, all these things, but at the same time, you're, giving scholarships and feeding the homeless.
You sound that sounds like the FBI and the Black Panthers. Now, see, people don't understand the Black Panthers was a service organization. They were turned into a militia and this angry militant group of Negroes, but that's not what they were about.
That's right.
Right.
They weren't a gang.
Well, here's the deal: if you feel like the Black fraternity is not a vital part of the Black community, that's like saying that I'm a little bit Black. You know what I'm saying? It makes absolutely no sense. You know what I'm saying? I didn't come into the fraternity. On a historical Black college, I came in on a white fraternity, in a white institution. Okay. I think at San Francisco State probably was the closest white institution as far as being at a historical Black college, because I think we had a lot there at that university to offer from our Black studies programs to, our great life as well. But the notion of our organizations from the community service standpoint, basically is, well, I like to look at white fraternities and Black fraternities as almost like non-Greeks and Greeks, should I say, or like on my son's camp. My son's in college right now. On his campus, there's a division between athletes because he's a student athlete and the non-student athlete. So there's this competition thing that's going on, and then there's a lot of the athletes get this or this or that, so there's a lot of division or whatever. So basically, our fraternity is rooted in community service. When our founders of our organizations founded these organizations, they wanted us to be different on purpose. Yes. They didn't want us to be like any other Greek organizations out there at other college campuses. They wanted us to be able to signify who we are. They wanted us to be not only involved in our campus, but outside in our community and take what we learn back to our community to bring our people back in our communities. And not just our people, all people in general, but to give back into our community. And so that's where the community element of community service was tied into our organizations. And like Buddy said, we have national mandated programs. We have Talent Week, we have Achievement Week, we have all our social action programs. We have right there in San Francisco, we have the Omega Boys Club, and we have the Omega's Gentlemen Group, which, been going strong right here in Las Vegas for 35 years. So we're spreading our service in our communities, but we're doing it all over the world because Omega Psi Phi, we have chapters all over the world. We're an international organization. This is not just about the United States.
Exactly.
We're international, and we're taking our philosophies and our ideas, and we're spreading our community service around the world.
And people don't
Very true.
understand that. People don't a lot of times understand that.
That's what they gave them.
So
Yeah. Who that? Oh, okay. That's Dr. G.
Dr.
Okay.
G in that jam, and she at the Caribbean Fest, girl. Go ahead, girl. Do your thing. What's going on in St. Louis? Give me a bean pie. I ain't mad at you.
You my No, I'm joking. Okay, go ahead.
no, I just I agree with everything that the brothers are saying. Our organizations have a long-standing history. You know, Alpha Phi Alpha. We always have this. We have this saying called, a voteless people is a hopeless people. You know, and pushing the campaign about voting, go to high school, go to college. That's something that our organization has been doing for decades and decades and decades, and all the organizations have similar programs. One of the programs that I've talked about, you've heard me say this too, Art, about Project Alpha, dealing with teenage pregnancy and the responsibility of young Black men if they get a young lady pregnant. The issue around HIV and AIDS and all these different diseases you get from unprotected sex. We have these kind of programs, mentorship. Art, you've seen me passionately talk about this on panels, and sometimes people just don't get it because they just don't know how deep our organizations go in our history. So it's hard to sometimes trying to get people to understand, because their minds have sometimes been inundated with the stereotypes, and they really just don't know how deep this has gone for generations, and the tradition that all our organizations have, that we carry on from one generation to another. When I go to a process where we have an initiation and you have a father who is there to assist in the initiation of his son, and to see the tradition, I've met brothers that go generations in Alpha, from the great grandfather to the grandfather to the son and it's amazing to see. And that tradition is rooted in once more the community service, a commitment to brotherhood, love for all mankind, scholarship, okay? The uplift of our people in a better society. I think one of the things in Alpha that we have always campaigned for is the rooting out of racism in this society. We wanted to exterminate it. Now we know that there's certain social realities around that, but that's one of the things that as Alpha men and all of the organizations want rooted out, is racism. We want that rooted out because we know that has played a big role in our oppression and trying to hold us back and put us in this glass ceiling. So a lot of people, I really would hope people to kind of understand that, do their research outside of this whole boogeyman type of stuff that you hear on YouTube platforms. Go a little bit deeper. Talk to people that are actually in these organizations. Do better research.
Okay, so got a few more questions to wrap it up, because I know a lot of you guys got some things to do on Saturday night.
Yeah, we're going to Caribbean Fest with the doctor.
Now just to throw everything out on the table, stuff that you heard, whether you squeezing a banana in the toilet or all these different type of stereotypes they got about fraternities, sororities, or what have you. What would you like to address? I mean, what are some of the things that you would just like to put on the table and said, you guys are full of A, B, and C. This is not what's going on and blah, blah, blah.
I'll put on the table right now that we are not just about stepping and partying, kind of stuff. Sometimes people associate us with just that, but we're so much more than just those sort of social things. Like anyone, we like to have fun. We come together and have step shows to kind of celebrate our organizations and to enjoy ourselves. We do have parties to enjoy ourselves like anyone, right? But we have an old saying in Alpha, is Alpha men we may, we may party hard, study late, but most of all, we graduate. Something that we always recite. But we are more than just about shake your booty. And people should do your research and find out that there are many more things that we are about than just that.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'd like to add really quickly that we don't go through some humiliating process to become members. Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated does not haze. I was not hazed to be a part of the process because my mindset at the time, as I told you guys, I didn't know anything about sorority life or fraternity life and none of that. So I'm coming straight from the hood. Anything like that would have not been good because I'd have been ready to retaliate. Okay, that was my mindset. You're not going to be able to do all this crazy stuff and have me doing this crazy stuff and then call me sister. Okay, no way. That's not how I rolled. So there is not some crazy process that's, violent or unhealthy or unsafe that we go through in order to be a part of the sorority. And I put that on everything, and I'm gonna go on mute after that.
I'm sorry, sister, if I've in any way, shape, or form intimidated you into going on mute. I'm sorry. I want to say that one, there was a little bit more strenuous process for me as I went to Omega. I want to say that sometimes we think that having a process is there was something wrong with that. We never look at the Marines, when they go to boot camp and go, oh, that process is mean and cruel. I think that sometimes the process that we went through was life-changing and life illuminating for me, because there are things that I deal with now in my own personal life and that I dealt with as online dealing with the bros that now, I laugh, and me and one of my line brothers laughed at this. There was nothing more intimidating than not getting Mr. Kill Raven his fish sandwich on Friday at 12 o'clock. So, especially when you didn't have no money, you know what I'm saying? That was an experience that was like, Mr. Kill Raven, brother Mr. Kill Raven had to have his fish sandwich on Friday. So, dealing with folks out here in the real world, I've seen that. There's no pressure you can put on me worse than Mr. Kill Raven did. So that was actually helpful. Fire, it takes pressure to make a diamond. It takes fire and heat to make a diamond. Otherwise you're just a lump of coal. I also say that I want to get past the notion that because you went through some process, you're evil, mean, or that it was cruel and unjust. I think that you can't go through something and come out on the other side. I think we live in a society right now. That's half the problem with these people right now. There's no pressure ever put on them. A lot of these kids giving everything. There's no pressure. There's no, like you said, everybody wins. No, that's not the way the world works.
Yeah, everybody don't get a trophy.
Everybody don't get a trophy. Everybody don't get a ribbon. Everybody, and I know this is, I'm gonna wrap this up with this. Chris Rock said it best in his last special. You need bullies to make the world go round. He made a joke about that. He said, you need a bully. Because he said, every now and then, you need that girl. You need that black girl in your school. My boy has a joke. You need that black girl at your school to go, just one time. You need that to know I can't wear this. If I look crusty, this black girl gonna go, You need to hear that. You need to hear that in your life. You need to have a, you know, like Chris Rock said. Do you think them bullies made Bill Gates go, "I'll study and I'll become the best"? There isn't one comic book where you didn't have the bully going, "I'll show you." You need that, man. You need that, and you need a little. You need, and that's what the fraternity, and that's what the brotherhood and the manhood sometimes it comes in our fraternities. You need a little pressure you need a little pressure, you need a little heat to make your life more complete. I think that, because if you never go through anything, you don't know nothing.
Right. Well,
I agree with that. I agree with all of that.
All of us says, I'm gonna take the fifth.
I play with you, bro.
Okay.
Shit.
You know,
I love
I'm
it.
with Brother Lewis, basically through this process, and I'm gonna kind of speak on the fraternity behalf of Omega Psi Phi a little bit. We always, as our organization, we have an ongoing process as far as looking at that situation and being more aware of our initiation processing, a process to make it where our fraternity is not trying to put ourselves in a legal suit or any kind of lawsuits or anything like that. We want our fraternity to continue to grow and continue for eternity. And so we have to do everything necessary to protect our fraternity and protect its members and the people that want to be members of the fraternity. So that's what we do. And as time changes, those initiation processes changes. Okay. And I'm with Brother Lewis. 30 years ago, the process was a lot different.
Yeah.
You know, and the process has changed from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, you know, as an organization, we try to do everything possible to protect our organization and protect its members and protect the people who want to be members in the organization. And I'm gonna take the fifth, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
But can anybody explain the purpose of Can anybody explain the purpose of stepping or step team? What, how do you guys configure a way to explain it to those people that are not in the organizations?
Well, I remember when I was in school, Brother Art, a lot of stepping, as I know it, has its roots in African boot dance. We actually had a brother that came from South Africa who they do boot dance. And we had all the black fraternities and sororities incorporate some of the African boot dance into the stepping. So a lot of the stepping and the things that we do has its roots in our African heritage and that type of dance and movement. So so that's why I'm saying when people are out here making these criticisms, they don't realize that a lot of the things that we're doing has origins to our history here in America and outside of this country. So when I look at stepping, in a sense, I look at it being a connection to our past, our future, and to our ancestry. That's how I personally look at it. When I was in school, I was sort of a step master, whatever they call that. I did my thing. But I want to speak upon this. Like some of these brothers on here, I came through a pretty harsh pledge process. I've had my wounds and licked them too. But when I look back at what I went through, I am so glad that I went through what I went through, because nothing was given to me, and I have these precious memories with my line brothers and the things that we went through, the trials and tribulations that we went through. But I also was one of those young brothers that would always say, if you didn't come in this way, then you ain't no, And I noticed that I said I would never be one of those alumni brothers, an older brother that's like, now we got to do things this way now, young men. But I noticed the older I've gotten, the more conservative I've gotten, because you brothers said one thing that's most important. We want these organizations to thrive and be here, and we can't have knuckleheads and people doing things that could cause these organizations to not exist anymore. So I think as I've gotten older, I'm taking more, I have a more conservative view. And now I understand why my older alumni brothers that have been in the game for a long time, why they took the attitude that they took, because they're looking at the long-term life of the organization. So I've become, in a funny way, one of these brothers who have a very conservative view on the whole pledging per se. I think there's things that we need not be doing anymore that is just a detriment to us. I have to be honest about that. We need to get away from certain things. And it's just things change. Even if we don't like it, you know, things are going to change. That's part of getting older and growing. And this organization is going to be around when I'm no longer alive. And I want it to be around when I'm not alive anymore.
Okay.
Brother, he said it best, that, you know, again, I always go back to this. We seem to have this negative stereotype of with the Greek organizations. No one says nothing about the praise dancers at church.
That's true.
No one disagrees with the usher board when it marches in. No one says nothing about that.
The tight pants.
Nobody disagrees with a bride walking down the aisle with her bridesmaids, and they have some pomp and circumstance when they come in. But when it comes to stepping, all of a sudden it's some ghetto, trashy, negative, bad, whatever it is you want to say about it. First of all, you know, how about looking at it from this standpoint? That stepping is a group of people that put together and fundamentally organize themselves to create some pageantry. That's what it was about mainly. Can we put together something and it be, you know, no one talks about Beyonce when she puts a whole group of people together. Yeah, it's just so negative, man, and so many stereotypes and things about our organizations are just really there's a negative stereotyping of what it's about. It's not about look how great those kids came together and because I'm saying kids because I ain't doing no more stepping. But look how great those kids came together and created that bit of pageantry. Mm-hmm. You never get mad at a marching band. You know, it's just why don't we celebrate the pageantry? Why don't we celebrate the synchronization? Why don't we celebrate the things that can be celebrated about it, as opposed to going, what is this?
You know, Brother Lewis, the thing I want to add on that too is the originality, the creativity, the art.
Exactly.
And that's what we get away from it. I mean, you're in the entertainment business. You look at Hollywood and, you know, in the money that they're making, again, all Black people, in the things that we create and the things that we do through our talents and things of that nature. And so when you look at the positive and the negatives, you know, on this situation, now we got I think there's a Latino group out there, Latino fraternities and sororities. They're now starting to step and do some other things, and we got some white fraternities out there now. They've gotten into the action of stepping and these things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I don't know what the future is going to look like, but for us, you know, it's a part of our heritage. You know, it's who we are, our creativity. I mean, Black people, we're the most talented, you know, creative people on this earth.
I agree.
Everything begins with us.
That's right. That's right.
What about the
and you never would get mad when you see people in the military when they have pageantry. Some of the greatest, one of the best things they did, I mean, is to put together like rifle teams. That used to be, you know, that whole pageantry of you know, the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace. That's pageantry. That's stepping. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a form of pageantry, and that just celebrates the synchronization, the creativity, the togetherness of a group of people, and I think that should be celebrated as opposed to, again, I always try to find a positive in something. They're saying there's some negative thing that you know should be, you know, disparaged and or hated on. I think that's ghetto fabulous to me.
Bro, it's our electric slide.
Yeah. Nobody get mad don't nobody get mad when y'all doing an electric slide at a wedding. Don't nobody get mad. You'd be mad if it didn't happen.
Alcohol.
Like when we go through the electric slide and Cupid shuffle.
Yeah, you talking about let that Cupid shuffle not play at a wedding. You boy.
Dr.
You
G.
want to see a fight break out?
No, I agree with the brothers. I've never stepped, but I stroll and I have a good time with it. I went out to a Pan Hellenic event, I guess it was last weekend, and I had the best time strolling with my sorors, and I also enjoyed seeing the other Greeks stroll. Like, that is so much fun to me. And I'm old as dirt, and I still will stroll. So, yeah. Yes.
I think it's helpful for
Now
us.
let's break down the part of also in the conversation is the stereotype of our characteristics of our organizations. Anybody want to touch on that, like the pretty boy and all this stuff? I mean, what say you guys? Have you guys came across that conversation, or you kind of ignore the whole stigmatism of it?
I'm gonna be real quick on this one. Our mascot is dog, and people. It's funny. It's so funny to me. It's like, what do you say man's best friend is?
Dog.
The dog.
What do white people more love than money?
Their animals are their best.
They dogs. Dogs are loyal. Dogs are companions. Dogs are friends. That's where that mascot came from. People think it's about, just because we have a bulldog on there and it looks like he's slobbering all the time. That's not what the connotation is. Dog is a man's best friend. That's that. And our motto is friendship is essential to the soul. They listen, homeless people have dogs. What do you give a blind person? A service dog. What do you give people when they have, what do they have on them planes? They have people who have comfort dogs. Dog, listen, our mascot is about the companionship and the friendship that you get from a dog. And so somebody that can explain that, it's not about who we are. We dogging people, we're dogging, we're thirsty like dogs and we're ravishing. No, that's not what it's about, man. It comes from the motto. It comes from our motto, fetus, man. Friendship is essential to the soul. And there is nothing more connected by any, especially for a mascot, is to be a dog, man. I mean, I'm just saying that they're friendly. That's where that comes from. It's not about anything else other than that.
Interesting. Art, as an alpha, there was all, we as organizations, when we have step shows, we do have our rivalries, but our rivalries are always done in fun and in celebration of our organization. So, when I came through, there were harsh things that were said, right, about different organizations. But I didn't take it personal because, like the brother talked about pageantry, we have normal rivalries but they don't cross lines. It's all done in fun. But one of the things that they used to say about alphas is that we were the nerds and the bookworms and all of that. And I would just say that intellect and intelligence, and not in all the organizations, brothers and sisters have intellectual intelligence. But I'm just saying that that was something that we were stereotyped as being the nerds, you know, what have you. But intellect is very important because intellect can build societies. And one of the things that we used to always say, and I used to tell brothers when they were coming through the pledge process, is that Alpha Phi Alpha is a thinking man's organization. We are men who process and think on logic and analyze. Does not say that other organizations, all the other organizations are not doing the same thing, but that was just something that we would always say to each other, that we are a thinking man organization. We're builders, building for the future, and intelligent intellect is important. And we always pretty much bragged about the fact that as alpha men, we always graduate, get advanced degrees, and scholarly standards is something that we really strive for. So that's one of the stereotypes, but I think it's a good stereotype because of what it represents. But all across the board, all the organizations to the letter represent intelligence, scholarship, love, companionship. Well, what the brother said about the dog, dog, that was interesting, brother. I like what you said about that because it made a lot of sense. You know, dog being best man's friend, even homeless have dog. You're on point with that. That was very interesting to me to hear you speak upon that.
Absolutely it was. And you will not find a more pristine breed of canine than the poodle.
We gotta hear that poodle.
I ain't mad at you.
She went on mute again.
No, I'm here.
That poodle.
I see it one more time, Art. I'm sorry.
To talk about that poodle. You know, you just said poodle, but what else? What you got?
Oh, right. Well, the poodle being our mascot, you just won't. I mean, look it up in terms of what the poodle is about. It's an intelligent dog. It's a pristine dog. It is a dog or a line of canine, I should say, that is markedly upright in stature and, head high. And most times when you go to dog shows, there's certain breeds of poodle that typically win those just simply because of how they look and how they hold themselves in the flock of all the canine. They stand out, if you will.
Okay.
Go girl. Yes, indeed. Work it.
Brother Henry Thomas.
Well, I think Brother Lewis answered just about every question I can answer as far as the dog. But for every organization, they have, there's a mascot, and ours just happened to be the dog. That is very tenacious in our endeavors. And sometime in life, you have to have a lot of tenacity. You know what I'm saying? I use our symbol in my everyday life. You know what I'm saying? Where sometimes I walk into a room and I'm the only black man in that room. You know what I'm saying? And so I have to be dogmatic about the things that I do. Okay. And so being dogmatic, you know what I'm saying? You have to have a certain fear. You can't be afraid. You got to be tough. You got to be upright. You know what I'm saying? You got to be confident. You got to have all the things that someone cannot deny you. Okay. And when I come home, I have a dog. And when I come home at the end of the day, the first person that greets me is my dog. He is happy to see me. Even when my wife and my kids aren't even around, he is there at the door waiting for me. You know what I'm saying? He is a friend. He is loyal. And when I had a hard day, he come lay next to me. He put his head on my stomach, but he liked to be rubbed, so I have to rub him. But he is truly a friend, and our fraternity is based on friendship. You know what I'm saying? That's what bonds us together, our friendship. Friendship is essential to the soul. It was not by accident. I think our founders, they thought out every possible parameter, angle, to define this great organization. Okay. Yeah. It's been over 100 years. It's over 100 years, and I'm hoping for 1,000
Yeah.
or more.
Yeah.
And our mascot, that has grown. Like I said, we're not just domestic anymore. We're an international. We're global. I mean, we got chapters in Japan.
Yep.
Come on, brother.
Germany.
Germany, Africa, all over. We got a chapter in China right now.
Yep.
Come on, brothers.
Canada.
So these organizations, these Black organizations, we're doing something right. You know, there's things in life. There's no life that is perfect. Okay, there's no situation that's perfect. Our organizations aren't perfect, but we are doing something right. We're growing. We're expanding. You know what I'm saying? We have economic base. We have political influence. I don't know if you was at the 100 year reunion, buddy, in Washington, D.C.
Of course.
It was 2 a.m. in the morning. And I just want to share this story. 2 a.m. in the morning in Washington, D.C. President Obama made a phone call at 2 a.m. in the morning, and they closed off Pennsylvania Avenue for us to have a block party.
Yep, sure did.
Political influence. Okay? And so that camaraderie, that love, and I think with all the organizations, the Greek organizations, the Black Greek organizations, there's always going to be competitive competition. Okay, and that competitive competition is good for our organizations. It makes us stay on top of our game. But as far as our symbols, okay, there's nothing more stronger than the dog.
Now, I had two more questions, but I'm probably bringing down to one.
You do that.
and I got a brother in the chat that had a question too, but I guess I'm gonna go with the grander one. Yeah. Okay. Do y'all want the fun one or the serious one?
We want the one that's gonna be quickest. I can talk to you crazy. I can talk to you crazy. These people might not have known you as long, Cleveland, and you know I'm crazy. So go ahead.
Man. Okay, I'll go with this one. This is probably the most fun one here. You know, they have this whole, like in Black YouTube especially, they have the whole Pookie and Ray Ray and Educated Lane conversation. Pookie and Ray Ray, you know, for I guess I'm not sure if you brothers heard about that, where the Pookie and Ray Ray is usually the street narrative guy, you know, irresponsible, but at the same time, there's some other stuff to where there's some positive things where they take care of business, hard edge, and so on, right? Educated Lane, like the guy that probably, you know, supposedly educated, but don't have that much of appeal, but yet he, you know, he has everything going book-wise. And the question is that conversation being held in the Black fraternities and sororities?
I don't think the conversation is necessarily being held, but I do think the dichotomy exists. I kind of shared this in the beginning when we talked a little bit about that question. I was raised in the hood in a housing project, not too far from the college, HBCU, Harris Stowe State University, that I attended and graduated from. That housing project is no longer there, but you get what gentrification does. So let me move on. So, you know, I bond with the street. I understand the hood. I know what that living is like. However, my education has afforded me a different style of living and a different set of experiences. And so I'm very much the two. And to separate me from either is to not be wholly me. Now, in terms of the criminal activity and that stuff that's associated with a Pookie and Ray Ray, and let me just say this, you can be Pookie and Ray Ray and never have gone to prison or jail. Okay.
Sure.
But in terms of that particular part of it, yeah, I mean that's who I am. That's Jeannie. You know what I mean? That's who the people know and who I grew up with, and the folks who know me the best know me in my rarest form, which is Jeannie. Having gone through this educational system, of course, I had to evolve and I had to become a person who could get amongst any crowd and speak and be respected and be acknowledged. And so I had to evolve. And so I'm very much the two. And I don't want to be separate from either existence because they both make me who I am. I think it's a bunch of nonsense to even be having this discussion at all, because the Pookie and Ray Ray can very much become the educated quote unquote lame. And the educated lame, I'm sorry, can become a Pookie and Ray Ray.
Thank
The
you.
two can, it can happen either way. And both entities can coexist within a person. So I want us to kind of get past that conversation and start to look at who we are today and what contributions we're making to our society and to our communities today, as opposed to what we may have done in our past that have landed us in either category.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm just gonna say that in our community, we need Pookie and Ray Ray. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what makes our community whole. You know what I'm saying? When I go to the barbershop and get my hair cut, if somebody come in and they try to sell me something, whatever, I may need that for the day. That might be that extra laugh or that extra hookup I need. Every Black person like a hookup. Now, right. You know what I'm saying? But we need Pookie and Ray Ray. That gives us balance, But on top of that, you know what I'm saying? We do need that brother and sister who is serious about certain forms of investment in what I call the quote unquote Fortune 500 world or whatever. We need those people as well. Okay. I have a few Pookie and Ray Rays in my family as well. Okay. But Pookie and Ray Ray, it doesn't have to be something that is negative, like Dr. G says. It's something that is positive. I have a cousin that was incarcerated, and at his late age, he's probably never going to, and I say he can't, but he's never going to get a PhD in engineering or anything. But what he knows how to do is he knows how to engineer the community. And he does a lot of positive stuff in the community as far as, giving back to the community and fundraising and doing things of that nature as well. Okay. But I don't think this is a conversation that needs to be had. When family comes together, you have a family get together, people show up at your house. It's family. It doesn't matter what their economic status is. It doesn't matter what their educational background is. You know what I'm saying? None of that stuff matters. The only thing matters is the respect, the love that, we share for each other as family, as friends, as a community. And that's the most important thing to me.
Brother Buddy,
I just want to say that a community, each member of society has value, and regardless of so many of the Pookie and Ray Rays are just you know, by grace and by grace, there I go. I'm one step away from being one of them myself. You know, so you know, I think that it was, some of it is all about opportunity and individual. Along with opportunity, there's also individual desires for advancement. And I think that each and every person in a society has some value. We gotta place better value on people. And again, that goes back to our humanity. What we can't devalue people, and because we as a group of people are devalued. Black people are devalued, and we shouldn't do that within our own subset. That's not helpful. And or is it does it help us move forward if we're devaluing the people within our own group? That just makes the other people look at us and go, okay, well, I feel the same way you do. If you don't care about them and you look like them and they are you, then I definitely don't look and care about them. And it's something we've got to change, the mental outlook, and even this whole conversation about Greeks versus non-Greeks. And it's again about devaluing what it is we don't understand, or we don't really understand. Because a lot of those Pookies and Ray Rays is because you've been made to feel afraid of those people, that you don't understand why they are where they are. And what their situation was. Some of them are not what you see. They're not who you are. They're not who you think they are. And it's so funny. I give the example, that Muhammad Ali gave one time. He said, "I don't fear a group of black men why should I be afraid of a group of black people in a hoodie? Why should I be afraid of them? I'm more afraid of white folks will kill you faster than a group of white kids will kill you faster than a group of black kids." All the serial killers most of the serial killers I know have been white. Most of the bombers have been, bombers and terrorist attacks have been white folks.
Right.
So, that's just that's stereotyping that we do, and we should stop.
For the info.
The Pookie and Ray Ray conversation is one that I think we need to do away with. Kind of sick of talking about it, but the reality is we have Pookie and Ray Rays in our organization. The only difference between me and the brothers that I deal with in the prison system is that I made a different choice than they made. It was choices and opportunity, okay? And some brothers didn't get the opportunity, so they remain in a certain lifestyle. However, San Francisco State, I've brought many brothers in through the chapter that came from Oakland, Richmond. Many Pookies are involved in these organizations, because where do you think most Black people are coming from when they even go to school? I know in the Bay Area, everyone's coming from the Oakland area, Richmond, all these various places, Hunters Point, Fillmore, where I lived at for many years growing up too. So a lot of us come from these various communities where you have the quote unquote Pookies and Ray Rays. And I told this story before, Brother Art, that when we were doing community service over there in Sunnydale Housing Project area, in some cases, it's the Pookies and Ray Rays that can buffer you in that community, because no one never touched us. The word was out, don't touch the alphas. They saw what we were doing. They wanted more for their brothers and their sisters, even though they were living a certain lifestyle, and some of them were trying to change their lifestyle. So they know the potholes. They know the things that we may not know, because they're in that community. And we have gotten assistance from quote unquote brothers that you would say are Pookies and Ray Rays, who are looking for more because they have lived a certain lifestyle. So we got to stop. This is why the whole ideology that we as members of Black fraternities and sororities are elitist. That is not, once again, it's not true, because a lot of us in our organization, we work with the quote unquote Pookies and Ray Rays who may help us to get into that community, to get a connection into that community, who come to us and say, hey, we want to change in this community. You know, I've done my thing. You know, we know people in our family, people in these communities that were doing certain stuff that wasn't honorable, that are saying, hey, I want to change my life. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do what I've been doing. So once again, we may be being elite being elite is great, but it does not mean that we turn our backs on our community and those in our community that society deems are not worthy people.
Now, the brother BMT, he was in the chat, and earlier, I'm not sure if you guys touched on it before, but he asked, do white counterparts see you as equals, or is it purposeful segregation for whites in the House? Is it in the House benefits for those who join only, or this is wordy, or you have to be a part of it? Did you understand the question?
No.
No.
Well, it sounds like he's asking, just in the nutshell, does the white fraternity and sorority see us as equals?
I don't really care. I'm going to answer the question real. My answer to that is I don't care what black fraternities and sororities, when we're on these college campuses, we don't run around worrying about what white fraternities and white sororities think of us. Matter of fact, the brother just said earlier in the show, they're trying to emulate us. Isn't that what white people do all the time? They're trying to copy off of what they see us doing. They're curious about us, but I don't think a lot of us spend time concerned about what they think of us or trying to get their validation. If anything, we have more of a rivalry amongst each other in terms of who can be the best fraternity on the campus, right? Who's doing the most in community service. I remember when I was in college, you probably remember this too, brother. We used to have, in some of the college campuses, we had this thing to be able to say, let's see who's really got the best grades, right? So we had these kind of challenges to see what's your grade point average. So we do more sort of pageantry amongst each other. Black fraternities and sororities, we're not worrying about our white counterparts.
Yeah, we don't even focus on our white counterparts. And it's funny though, but the one thing we're not really talking about, because when we talk about the black fraternity or black sorority, how many other ethnicities that have came into the fold as far as our organizations and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, there's anybody being excluded from joining our organizations or whatever. It's just the principles of our organization was founded on, a black African American black life, and we tried to incorporate our community service and our Christian base into our fraternity to make it more about community or whatever, other than being, like Buddy says, some type of a social club or whatever. And so when people want to be involved with things, a lot of times they want to be involved with something that has purpose and means something, that they're actually doing something that's going to make a difference or whatever. And what I've seen with our counterparts of what we would perceive to be white fraternities, most of their organizations were set up as social clubs, and so people are attracted to what we're doing. And so that's the way I kind of look at it.
I have to say this. I went to a HBCU. I went to Howard University, so there were no white fraternities. So I don't really know how to compare. I'm being honest. I don't even understand the comparison. Right now, because I didn't live that experience. I wasn't on a major Big Ten or, a big white campus where there were 10 white fraternities and 10 white sororities, and black fraternities. But out of all of my friends that did go to white schools, one of the one things I always had was that it didn't matter what white fraternity that was on campus, whatever black fraternity that was on campus, it was like, nah, y'all don't mess with them. The white ones were like, nah, we ain't messing with them.
Right.
Because, you know, it's like you don't mess with, if it was the Alphas were the biggest black fraternity on campus, the white boys like, nah, don't mess with them. The same thing with the Qs. It was like, don't mess with them. It didn't matter. You didn't mess. So I think there was a tad bit of intimidation. You know that you know, like we're not intimidated by the white fraternities. You just weren't. You weren't intimidated by the white fraternities, and I'm surely not. And the only white fraternity I know that was on Howard's campus was Phi Beta Kappa, which is really I thought was just a smart fraternity. It didn't have nothing to do with being white. So you know, it's a whole different thing when you know you're on a campus that didn't even have that to compare to. So I always felt the rivalry for us at Howard was more fraternal, whether with the black fraternities. You know, it was always who was the best, who had the best party, who had the best grades, who had the best, who had the best step show, et cetera, et cetera. So, it wasn't a comparison. There wasn't any that I have the experience doing. I couldn't tell you.
Exactly. So we didn't go around feeling inferior to these white organizations, and our organizations don't breed inferiority. We breed be a leader, be a master and captain of your faith.
Now, Dr. G, did you weigh in on this?
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I went to an HBCU. There were no white. I mean, the few whites that went to the school, because there were a few whites that went to the school, they were a part of the sororities that were education based. Like, for instance, I was a member of Sigma Chi Delta, which is an English honor society. And so because I was a secondary education major and I taught high school English, so there were a couple white people in that. But in terms of the Divine Nine, no, there were no other sororities or fraternities that were applicable to the Divine Nine or comparable.
Exactly. There are no comparisons.
Be no. No. The thing that I think you guys touched on, it got me thinking, and plus I've been seeing this over the years. I can tell that we don't really like we said, we don't really copy white folks, but it seemed like the people that are not in the fraternities always accuse us of doing the other. Like, we copy what white people do all the time, and you see white people stepping and doing all kinds of stuff now that we've been doing for years. What's you guys' take on that?
Well, they get their information, like I said earlier, they're getting their information from people that are not in the organizations. They're getting their information from people who at one point in time wanted to be in these organizations, and for whatever reason, things didn't work out for them. That's my personal belief. That's the problem right there. And let's just be honest, Black people, like I said, we underestimate, we undervalue, and marginalize each other. And it manifests itself in self-hate. And we're so quick to be critical of each other. Well, y'all trying to be like the white folks, and they don't even know our history. All right, they don't know. I've got this book right here, beautiful book, wonderful book, right? The history and development of college life. In this book, it details basically Black history, what my organization has done, our involvement in civil rights, all the great members that have come through this organization. And if people are not empowered with this type of knowledge, and they don't know that certain people that they look up to in history, like a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, they don't know how these figures, these great individuals, women and men, and what they contribute, they would have a better understanding of what our organizations are about when they find out, wow, they were a part of that. They got some of their inspiration from that organization to do what they did. How many Black people know It was Alpha Phi Alpha that was instrumental in the March on Washington. How do you even know that?
Yeah.
Not that any of the other organizations didn't have their involvement, but my organization, we were very instrumental in the civil rights movement that we have benefited from. Nothing is perfect, all right? There's nothing perfect, but we benefit from it today. And so I believe if Black people understood that kind of history, I believe that they would have less stereotypes about our organization, and they wouldn't be listening to all this Illuminati and boogeyman talk that they get from people on YouTube who portray themselves as knowing our organization, will have the nerve to take our history books and put it up and say things, and they don't know what they're talking about.
You mean like Steve Coakley?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. Steve Coakley, you know, the bottom line is people who get on YouTube sometimes have agendas. And people like Steve Coakley, he had an agenda in doing what it is he did.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap it up now. But I'm going to make an announcement. So, and maybe if you guys be interested, I really want to do another panel of Black fraternity and sororities, but trying to touch on the founders of each organization. Because people don't really talk about that, because the founders went through a lot to put these organizations together. They went through a lot. So I think we need to peel the layers on that. Nothing too deep, but just some things that are out there publicly that we might want to highlight if you guys are interested. I would like to revisit that.
All right.
Now, what I want to do is go around and when you let us know, like the closing remarks, and let us know if you got, something coming up or what have you, an event, and please let us know which distinguished member of your organization stands out to you that made a difference.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll let the lady go first. Dr. G's like, no, you go. Go first, Dr.
No, that's fine. So you said a lot there, Art. So first, let me just say that I appreciate being asked to be a part of this. One of the cool things about running in the YouTube circles was my finding Carib, who is a sorority sister. We had run in the same chat rooms and such. And one day I just felt compelled to ask her. It was something about her that made me ask her if she was Greek, and come to find out she is a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated also. So that has just been really a real highlight for me, because I know that I have a real sister in all of these circles. And that's important because it gets really interesting in these YouTube streets, right? So I appreciate being able to come on in her absence and just be a part of this forum. I mentioned before that, one of the things that made me go ahead and do the research to see if I wanted to be a part of the sorority was learning that the founders for my sorority, they were 7 educators, they were teachers. And they were studying to be able to go into their community and teach in urban communities. And that's pretty much what I've dedicated my career to. I've been in education for 20 years, and most of that time, I would say 75% of that time, I have worked in urban environments. And so it's hard for me to distinguish one founder when in fact, they all sort of played a part in my deciding to become a part of this sorority. So it would be unfair to me to really say one over, any others. But what I will say is they were all unique in their own contribution to the sorority. And I am just, it gives me a certain amount of pride, if you will. And I think this goes back to that elitism that we kind of talked about. But it does give me a certain amount of pride to be able to walk in the footsteps of these beautiful ladies, these wonderful educators, these professional women. And I'm just hoping that my service is, making them proud, and that I can leave a legacy
like that they left for us. So yeah, I'm not going to choose one, but I will come back for the conversation if you'll have me, where we talk about, you know, more of what our founders were about and where they come from, because I do think that's important. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll just also say, chat, please consider subscribing to my channel, Catering to the Culture with Dr. G. I would love to have you guys be a part of my tribe.
Send me a link.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'll let you know when we have that panel again. That's gonna be fun. We got Brother Henry Thomas. Closing remarks.
Well, yeah. Brother Art, I'd like to just thank you for allowing me to be on the panel with these wonderful, educated Black men and women, just having positive conversation, discussing our wonderful and great organizations, and hopefully that, you know, I can be a part of many other panels that you may have here on your channel. But I just want to say thank you, brother, and want to give congratulations to the brothers on this channel, and show them that, you know, there's much love from this standpoint. As far as any member of the organization, I'm with Dr. G. There's so many members that could be recognized, because there's so many members in our great organization that has done so many beautiful and wonderful things in every area, from humanity to, you know, to economics to you know, from the health industry to all types of industry, and for our community and etc. But my uncle, Henry Fitzgerald, Dr. Henry Fitzgerald, I should say, he was the one who introduced me to Omega Psi Phi. He was the one who brought me light, you know, of the organization, and I was able to take that information and pass it on to other members in my family that were younger than me, that information, who also became members of this great organization. And right now my son is seeking Omega as well. So if there was one individual from a personal standpoint, that would be him. Now, there's a member of the organization that I always admired, and I had an opportunity to meet him on a couple occasions, and that's Earl Graves Sr. He is the founder of Black Enterprise Magazine. I majored in economics and accounting, and you know, I'm very deeply rooted in doing community projects inside my community that relates to economics. Recently, about 2 weeks ago, I did an economic summit with young people, and just talking about business and being entrepreneur and dealing with entrepreneurship. And Earl Graves, he's always promoted Black business through his magazine and the things that he's done. And he really inspired me to be more involved in my community, and to push economics in my community, and in the use of the Black dollar, and spending our dollars among Black businesses and things of that nature, and expanding outside of our communities and stuff like that. And, you know, for me, it's been a blessing, because I got a program that I started in Vegas, and a lot of people don't even know about it. It's called, it was something personal of my own. It was basically to start 100 Black businesses in 10 years. And I helped over 100 people start 100 Black businesses in the last 10 years through my accounting firm that are Black business owned. And so you know, that was important to me, and that's something that I continue to push, you know, because we need that in and out of our communities and stuff like that. And with that particular notion, I took it from a standpoint of that our businesses don't have to be labeled black. You know what I'm saying? I got black business owners that own Filipino restaurants and trucking companies and all kinds of wonderful kinds of businesses that they're not labeled in a geographical area or anything like that, but they're black owned. And I was able to help them get to that point, whether it was, you know, through accounting, business plans, or helping them find different alternative methods of financing for their businesses. And in Earl Graves, he promotes that. You know what I'm saying? And he continues to promote that not only in America but all over the world. You know, and we're talking about a fraternity, but business is a fraternity. It's about a network of, you know, us coming together and starting something and doing something to empower our people for the next generation. When I went to college, my parents told me, go to college, get out of college, get a good job. Okay. Now with my son, I teach my son, go to college, get out of college, become an entrepreneur. You don't have to go work for nobody. You know what I'm saying? You can start your own IPO. You can, you know, if you want to do that. But that next generation, and Earl Graves is a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and he's promoted that from day one. And I just want to hang on to his legacy just a little bit, you know, whatever. And hopefully that'll make a difference in our lives, our community lives, because right now we're going into the economic phase in our communities, the things that we have to deal with, quiet as kept. I mean, we've been dealing with, you know, the health and political and economic and in the political sides of our community. And now we have to deal with the economic sides of our communities, and not just here in the United States, but worldwide. You know, we don't have a country to go to draw funds. So we have to build relationships. If you ask any African-American person in America, okay, what country are you from? And can you go there? And can you go to a bank in that country and get some money? See what they'll tell you. So I can go on this. I can talk about this for days and days, but I'm going to close out this discussion because we're talking about the fraternity. And like I said before, Earl Graves, he's a part of my great organization, and he was significant in my life as far as, you know, helping me to get out in the community and go do something positive as well.
Okay.
Art, I'm gonna have to step off the panel soon, so I just want to go ahead next and just say that thank you for having me on board today for this discussion. It was much needed. Need to have more. And in the spirit of Alpha Phi Alpha, first of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. Black people, that's what we need to do. We need to transcend all, be servants to all, and be the best that we can be. Paul Robeson is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, the late Paul Robeson. He's in our Omega chapter. That brother he did it all. He was a true Renaissance man, actor, and activist. He stood for what was right. So I definitely have a love for him. Dr. King, of course. We also have, the brother, Robert Smith, billionaire. I'm inspired by what Black men do. In my years being in the fraternity, I have rubbed elbows and connected with Black men that are doing incredible things in food science. You know, a lot of the food science are brothers who came out of these historical Black colleges that were members of these Black fraternities and sororities. So when you look at the Jell-O pudding pop, for example, Black people created that. Black people have been in food science forever in these particular universities. rubbing noses with Black men that have been involved in science and physics. I've had the privilege to being a part of alumni chapters, moving from the Bay Area to where I live at now, where you're rubbing elbows with brothers who are doing incredible things, captains of industry, in business, economics, education, just a little bit of everything. And so that's how I see all the organizations in a nutshell, that we are always, we have a thing in Alpha called, Alpha Men on the Move, right? We're all on the move trying to do something to improve the world we live in, improve ourselves, our family, and our community. So I want to leave you with that, brother. Appreciate you having me here. We got to do this again. I thought that we really did answer a lot of significant questions. I hope that, and while this was going on, brother, I've been putting the video in the social media. I've been dropping it in actual group pages that I'm a part of that have all the various different fraternities and sororities that are a part of them. And hopefully when we do this again, Art, I'm more than willing to assist and trying to get more representation on the panel, even if it means, and I'm willing to do this, going outside of the typical YouTube family and getting people that I know personally that are members of Kappa and Sigma, so we can have a variety in Delta. So I can do that so that the next time we get together, we now bring those other voices on the panel that will add more clarity to what we are as a Divine Nine.
And that's what I had to do because I did reach out to certain people that did belong to these organizations, and I appreciate the ones that responded, but some just probably felt like I wasn't even worth the response.
Well, I have a lot of people that I know on the Facebook. I think if we plan this next time, give a little bit of time, I can try to reach out to folks that I know and try to get them on board for the next panel that you do like this. So when it comes to Delta, AKAs, I know folks. It's just a matter of me giving them a heads up and then being able to make the time. I think if we do that, it'll be even more dynamic panel.
Well, I appreciate you coming, fam.
No problem.
Brother Buddy.
Hey, I just want to thank you, Brother Art, for Brother Palmer, for asking me to participate. I think that any subsequent information that gets out contrary to the other nonsense that's out on the internet is positive and can only increase positive awareness about what Black and Greek fraternity life is all about. So I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to expound on that. Keep doing these panels. I'll come back. I think the question was, is there anybody significant that I want to pay homage to, I guess is the question, the final question. And I just want to say, my father, even though he wasn't, the most active member of in my household as dads go, what he did show me was that, he was an Omega man. And, I appreciate him for showing me what Omega was about, and just all of my frat brothers, across this country, my line brothers, especially, all of them, and, a lot of my Sands and my specials, and, I could go on and on and on about the men of Omega that are personal friends of mine that I look up to, that are not just friends, they're mentors, they're brothers, they're family. My cousin who's a doctor out in Vegas, I could go on and on and on. But I think the best thing is that we continue to do these panels and expound on the information that has been given today, and that we spew positive information about Greek life, and give that to people that have a misunderstanding or have been ill-informed about what being a member of a fraternity or sorority is about, especially the Divine Nine. We really need to promote them just like we promote HBCUs. It's not, we to the detriment of college life, I think sometimes, there's a lot of spewed hate against, historically Black colleges, and that they no longer have value. And I say completely the opposite. They're just as valuable and more valuable now, especially in the climate that we're in. And that goes with the fraternities and sororities as well. So continued success. I hope that everyone will go to Buddy Lewis Jokes on Instagram and on Facebook and Twitter. Leave me a note that if you liked anything I said, please leave a note and let me know. And if you didn't like something I said, let's talk about it. But most of the times what I say when I leave my shows especially is, I don't know you personally, so what I said was just jokes. So let it go. It's don't take it personal. I don't know you personally, but this right here, I know about this life, and I know that Greek life is positive, and Greek life is important, and we need it for the next generation. So let's be strong. Let's be happy. Let's be brave. Let's be strong. God bless y'all. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, brother. And
Right.
so, yeah, just for the record, I did reach out to a few Kappas, and I reached out to a few Sigmas, Zetas, Deltas, AKAs.
Yeah, well, that shows you what they all about. No, I'm kidding.
You get like sabotage. Oh, he didn't invite. Okay, they didn't come. So these are the people that showed up, you guys. So take a good look at them. They're here. So I really appreciate everybody for coming. I appreciate everybody in the chat for giving me support and everything. I'm gonna try to have as many things as possible to, keep your mind going and being informed and not repeating what everybody's saying on Black YouTube. Just something different. So without any ado or anything, anybody have anything else to say before I wrap, close it out? Anything else?
Keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing, Brother Palmer.
Okay.
And where's my Prince picture?
We're supposed to hook up. I still got it.
Okay. Want my picture?
I took a snapshot of it.
All right, peace.
Don't have my picture in no gallery, and I can't get hold of it. All right, Brother Palmer. Love, man.
Love
All right.
you, bro.
Y'all, peace out. Thank you for coming.